It's time once again for That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ, where business becomes show business. Jamie is a leading Tampa Bay real estate agent and featured on the Wall Street Journal's list of top 100 real estate agents in the nation. Jamie invites you to list your home with him today and learn more at tampabayradio.com. Now, live in studio and promoting the entrepreneurial spirit that drives the American economy, your host, Jamie Maloney.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to hour number 2 of That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Middle of the week means it's Working Women Wednesdays, weekly feature where we highlight a couple of the women from the very influential and very large and very great organization, Working Women of Tampa Bay, and led by the amazing founder, Jessica Ravelli, who is with me on the phone line as always. Jessica, good morning to you.
Good morning, Jamie. How are you?
I am doing quite great. You've sent me over another pair of professionals. We'll be hearing from Dr. Shirley Davis on the second part of today's show. I know she is an amazing speaker. And also we'll be hearing from Kari Saddler here in just a little bit, founder of Daily Leadership Coaching. Dr. Davis is speaking at your upcoming conference too, correct?
Yeah, we're so excited to have Dr. Shirley, who I believe also goes by the Success Doctor, as one of our main stage speakers at the conference, which is September 8th and 9th at the Strauss Center for the Performing Arts. And so we just announced our speakers last week. So if you go to workingwomenconference.com, you can see the first group that we've unveiled on the website. We have about 10 women up right now, and we'll continue to add great speakers all the way up until the point that we, until that date. But yeah, right now you can go to the website and see Shirley and the other 9 speakers that we have planned for that day.
Very cool. And that's coming up in, what is that, September, right? September 8th and the 9th?
September 8th and 9th. The 8th is a networking reception that, we have food, we have drinks, and we've got a couple hundred women come out, and it's a great networking opportunity. And then the 9th is a full-day education event from 8 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. We'll hear from usually about 20 women. We'll have an opportunity to speak during those about 8 hours. And so we're flying in several women from LA to speak, and so, people come from all over the country to speak, but most of the attendees are right here from Tampa Bay or Orlando and kind of the general area around Tampa Bay.
Now, the website for this, workingwomenconference.com, I'm over there now. You can get tickets available for this and learn about these speakers. So you have a Working Women podcast. I wasn't familiar with that. What is that? Who hosts that?
Yeah, that's basically just last year's speakers we were able to audio tape, and so we put them up on a podcast. And we're looking to do more podcasting. But as you know, all the amount of work that you put into the radio show, it can be challenging putting out additional media. So we're going to start with just podcasting the speakers for the conferences, and we may look to actually expand that podcast in the coming months. So.
Very cool.
Always looking to get the word out about working women,
Very cool. Jessica, as always, we appreciate the support, and we'll hear from you again next Wednesday on Working Women Wednesday.
All right. Thanks, Jamie. Have a great show.
Absolutely. Time to bring in my first guest for this half of the hour, Kari Saddler, founder of Daily Leadership Coaching, and you can learn more about her throughout the discussion, karisaddler.coachesconsole.com. Kari, welcome to the program today.
Thank you. Good morning.
So, Daily Leadership Coaching, tell me what this is about. Tell me about your business.
So a little bit about my business. Daily Leadership Coaching, my tagline is because nothing changes by talking about it once a week. I've been coaching leaders for the last 10 years, and one of the things I notice about a lot of my clients, I've done 2 types of coaching. Private clients outside of companies, and then I've also been an internal coach inside a large local hospital.
Okay.
When you're an internal coach, something different happens because people realize that since you're an employee of their same organization, they feel like they have more access to you. They're more willing to email you. I just came out of a meeting, something happened, do you have 5 minutes? Versus private clients who really feel like they're only allowed to contact you, during their paid coaching sessions. Working with clients inside an organization, I found that I saw leaders drastically change their leadership style in sometimes a really short, 3 to 6 month period of time. And I realized it was because they had that daily access. When something came up, they could immediately email me or stop by my office and interact. And that's sort of where the idea for daily leadership coaching came from. It's a way to be in front of your clients on a more regular basis without necessarily having to take a lot of your time. So there's a process for how daily leadership coaching works.
Do most business and professional coaches, do they offer like just something like once a week or once a month type of thing?
So your standard coaching package, before I developed daily leadership coaching, my coaching package was, 4 sessions a month, which is once a week. I would talk to clients, and they were required to sign up for 12 months to start out, to sort of gain momentum and start really making some of those changes. After the first 12 weeks, they could then move to an every other week conversation if they wanted to. But again, very few of them reached out to me between sessions because they felt like that was taking more time than they'd paid for.
Now, do you work with both men and women in any type of business?
Yes.
What's the most common thing that you hear from leaders, their biggest challenges? Is it dealing with staff? Is it finding new business? How to network? I mean, or is it just kind of all over the board?
The biggest problem that, the specific leaders that I'm looking for are leaders who are really intelligent. They get things done. They were high performers as an individual contributor. And when they become a leader, they make the assumption that everyone on their team should be the same type of high performer that they were. And so they have a hard time dealing with the variety of people on your team. Your team is naturally going to have some high performers like you may have been, but your team is also going to have some B players. And I always say, B stands for backbone. The backbone of your business are the people who come in, they do their job, they do a great job, but their goal isn't to take your job.
Right.
And if you don't treat them with the same amount of respect that you give your high performers, they really get disenchanted.
Yeah, I know I have that problem because I'm such an overachiever, and I'm always looking for that in everybody around me, and that's why I try to do so much. But one thing a leader has to realize is nobody's ever going to do it just like you're going to do it. And you have to learn to accept that. Do you find yourself coaching on this concept a lot?
Oh, absolutely. No one's going to do it exactly the way you're going to, and nobody knows how you really feel about what you're doing. So this is another huge problem that leaders come to me with. They're saying, I came to your leadership class, I'm doing all the things you're talking about, but I feel like my team doesn't believe me. I feel like there's a disconnect. Like they think I'm just self-serving. I want to get these things done to look good. And my heart is in this. I care about this a lot. How do I help translate that message to the people on my team?
So how did you find coaching as a business? What was your background before coaching, and how did you fall into this?
That's a great question. So I had been doing leadership development for about 10 years. I was working for a mortgage company as a leadership development trainer. And they had a class on coaching where I was teaching leaders how to coach their employees. And I had to do these fish bowls where I'd get in front of the room with a leader and, tell me your biggest challenge. And people kept telling me afterwards, you're really a great coach. And I was like, well, I think coaching's actually a business. And so I started looking into it and became certified 10 years ago through IPEC, which is a great coaching program out of New Jersey. I even went back to teach for them for 4 years. And so that really, you learn what you teach even stronger. And so I feel like that experience of having the leadership background and then becoming a coach and training coaches really helped me develop some great coaching.
Now, convince people that are listening why they need a coach. I see coaches a lot of times with realtors and different niches. And does a coach need to be specific to your industry? Like in real estate, they have the real estate coaches, and I'm sure other industries have those industry-specific coaches. But do you need an industry-specific coach, and why do you need a coach just in general?
Well, it really depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, if you're talking about real estate industry, I would say, yeah, you might want to have a real estate industry coach because there's a lot of tools and tricks to the trade that they can share with you that I probably wouldn't know having never been in the real estate industry. When we're talking about leaders, again, my specific market are the brilliant leaders who get things done, the people who move things forward at a rapid pace, who find that the people around them aren't necessarily rallying for their cause the way they think they should. Working with me, what they do is they sort of step back. They identify the ladder of inference and start to understand how their message gets lost from the place where they start talking to the place where their employees hear them. The thing I talk about a lot is that no one deserves to have a bad boss. And if you have that sinking feeling in your stomach that even though you get things done, your people don't love you, a coach can help you work through that process.
Now, share me a success story or somebody that you've worked with in the past and how you impacted them professionally. Great.
I'd love to do that. I'm going to change the names, obviously, because coaching conversations are confidential. But let's call this person Bob. So Bob is a leader who's relatively new. They've been in their role for about a year. Very high-performing individual contributor, came in at the manager level with a team of about 10 people. Boss loves Bob. Boss says, Bob, you've got everything going on. You're moving forward at a rapid pace. You're up for promotion soon. But what Bob realizes is that his team doesn't love him. They sometimes are sort of looking at him. He notices they're rolling their eyes. He hears conversations in the water cooler like Bob only cares about the numbers. Bob's just in this to get ahead. And so, I met Bob because he was coming to my leadership development classes, and he says, listen, here's the thing. I'm doing all the things you say I need to do, but my team isn't on board. And so what we discovered with Bob, there were a couple of really big things. One is his team didn't understand his intent. The other thing is he truly didn't understand where a lot of members of his team were coming from. So he jokes and tells you the story about one time he and I had a 2-hour conversation about the difference between it is understandable versus I understand. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't understand where a lot of his team members are coming from. But if he had lived their life, if he had had every experience they had until the day that he met them, then he would behave the same way. So it's understandable that they feel and react.
So after your coaching, how is he performing today? Has he learned to understand others?
Absolutely. So we actually coached together for almost a year on a weekly basis. Within that year, he was promoted to a director level position, had a much larger team, and really in the 2 years since then has built a legacy on that team where there's actually a new opportunity for Bob that he's moving on to, and his team is heartbroken that he's leaving.
Now, you obviously dealing with leaders, you're going to be dealing with dominant personalities, and you probably have to beat some of these concepts into these people to get them to change, because every time you say something, oh, that doesn't work, or I tried that, I'm sure you hear that over and over again, right?
Oh, absolutely. I hear that over and over. Actually, I was coaching, I do lots of free coaching sessions just to try to find out, are you an ideal client for me? And I was talking to somebody last week who's like, I'm abrasive, that's my personality, and it works for me. I'm like, great, well, you're probably not my ideal client, because if you think it works for you, then just keep going the way that you're going. But if you've identified, you know what, it works for me 80% of the time, and now I want to catch that other 20%, that's when you know you're ready for a coach, because you can only do it 80% of the time. And if you want 100% results, you're going to have to find somebody who can help you see your blind spots.
Good information. Currently talking to Kari Saddler, founder of Daily Leadership Coaching. Learn more about her, karisaddler.coachesconsult.com. You're listening to the Working Woman Wednesdays feature of That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.
I knew Mom wanted to stay at home. It's the center of her family, her life. But helping Mom stay in her home while managing mine was just too much. Honestly, it wasn't just about me. Mom didn't want me to be her caretaker. She wanted me to be her daughter. I felt so alone until I found out about Home Instead Senior Care. When we met the people at Home Instead, we just knew they were different. The experience was personal. And most importantly, for Mom and me, I get to be her daughter again.
Home Instead Senior Care. To us, it's personal.
How many times have you said to yourself, I wish there was an app for that? Stop wishing and start making the world better. Turn your brilliant idea into a profitable business by using Popcorn apps. Their affordable app design will help get your blue sky idea or proven business to the next level at a fraction of the cost of other developers. They will help you get through all the steps needed to make your thoughts become live. See them at popcornapps.com with a K in popcorn, or call them at 727-415-6705 for your free consultation and pop your kernel of an idea into $1 million business and a world changer starting today.
Teresa Turner is a certified public accountant and the founder of Tax Happens, a boutique-style CPA firm providing small businesses and individuals with hands-on, personalized tax and accounting services. Although we would love to tell you how happy their clients are, we would like you to see for yourself. Tax Happens has 21 Google reviews and a 4.8-star Google rating, 17 Yelp reviews and a 5-star Yelp rating, 38 Facebook reviews and a 4.9-star Facebook rating. What sets Tax Happens apart is number 1, upfront pricing, 2, clear deadlines, 3, personally available year-round, and number 4, a willingness to empower clients to do as much or as little as they desire. Visit taxhappens.com for more information.
Have you ever tried to buy a home for your family only to find out that you don't qualify for a mortgage loan? You thought that after 20 years as a customer of your bank, they would help you when you needed it the most, right? Unfortunately, the banks of today are not the banks of our parents and grandparents, and our relationships with them just don't matter anymore. My name is Frank Cotto, and I'm the president of the Lincoln Lending Group. We all may need a bank, but we also need a Frank, and that's what I'm here to do for you today. Lincoln Lending Group will waive all of your lending fees, which include your mortgage, application fee, your underwriting fee, processing fees, and any bank points. Just call 813-MORTGAGE. You drop the E, and we'll drop the fee.
Tampa Bay weather is a roof killer. That's why when getting your roof done, you want it done right. Hi, I'm Jamie Maloney of That Business Show. When considering a new roof or repair, talk to Westfall Roofing. They've been installing high-quality roofs in Tampa Bay for over 25 years. Get a free, no-obligation estimate by calling 855-99-ROOFING. That's 855-99-ROOFING. Find out what already 15,000 satisfied customers already know. Call now, 855-99-ROOFING. In an age when the good and the better vie for attention, it is the best that stands out. The best of Tampa Bay from Proudly, Florida is the love story for the city of Tampa, celebrating success, sharing achievements, a tribute to enterprise and community spirit. Let Proudly Florida showcase your business to your city, your nation, and the world. For more information, email info@proudlyflorida.com and be sure to visit proudlyflorida.com.
Are you in need of new flooring or ready to tackle that home remodeling project? Then contact Yeager & Company Incorporated, a family-owned, state-certified general contracting business with over 70 years of experience and the recipient of the Angie's List Super Service Award for the last 8 years in multiple categories. Yeager & Company comes to you with their shop-at-home flooring sales service, and their hardwood flooring refinishing is the very best in the Bay. Kitchen and bath design featuring American-made, well-born cabinets, and all work is done by employees, not subcontractors. Learn more at YeagerFlooring.com.
From the RP Funding Traffic Network.
Good morning, crash on southbound McMullen Booth at Curlew. This one blocking a couple lanes and traffic slow from Tampa Road. Also one in the clearing stages on eastbound Waters Avenue at Armenia. Northbound I-75 slow from around 301 up through the Brandon area. And westbound I-4 slow from I-75 over towards 50th Street. See traffic problems? Call the injury firm of Abrahamson, Andy Durick, Hillsborough Traffic Tip Line 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by the Foundation for a Better Life.
When Marlon Shirley was 5, he lost his foot. Today, as the world's fastest amputee, he runs the 100 meters in less time than it takes to listen to this. Overcoming. Pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life.
Today, hot and humid with a 20% chance of showers, high 91. Tonight, partly cloudy, humidity continues, low 79. Tomorrow, a 30% rain chance, high 89.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Missed a show? Then head over to TampaBayRadio.com, where all shows are available on demand. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Maloney.
And we're back to the Working Woman Wednesdays feature of That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Learn more about the Working Women over at WorkingWomenOfTampaBay.com. A lot of great events going on. And also tickets available for their upcoming conference, September 8th and 9th at the Strad Center. Learn more about that, WorkingWomenConference.com. Currently talking to one of the members, Kari Saddler, founder of Daily Leadership Coaching. You can learn more about her services, KariSaddler.coachesconsole.com. And Kari, you mentioned earlier in passing a ladder of inference. What is this?
So a lot of people don't know about the ladder of inference. And when I talk about leadership coaching especially, I think the ladder of inference is one of the main reasons why you've got to have a leadership coach. So what the ladder of inference is it's a process that we go through in our minds without ever realizing it, where we get from something that we observed to an action that we take, and there's a bunch of steps in the middle. So let me give you an example. Let's imagine that we were sitting right now in a conference room, right? And so there's about 6 of us in this room, and Shirley's sitting off to my right, and I'm talking. And what I observe while I'm talking is that Shirley rolls her eyes. Okay, so that was just an observation, but I've selected, there's a lot going on in this room right now, right? So you might have been taking a drink of water, Dan might have been doing something different, but I observed and selected to look at Shirley rolling her eyes, and then I assign meaning to that. Rolling your eyes means I don't like you, or I think what you're saying is boring, or I don't like your ideas. And once I've assigned meaning to that, now I'm going to jump and make an assumption and say, you know what? I think that Shirley was rolling her eyes at me. And my conclusion about that is that Shirley must not like me or must think that my ideas are stupid. And now that I have that belief about Shirley, I'm going to avoid her in the future. And you do that so fast. Literally, you're sitting in a conference room, you see Shirley roll her eyes, and the next time you see her, you have this feeling like Shirley doesn't like me. And I don't know why I feel that way, but I'm not going to reach out to Shirley. Whereas when you realize there's this ladder of inference, you come to your coach, you're like, yeah, I saw Shirley roll her eyes, she doesn't like me. And your coach is going to ask a question like, what if this had nothing to do with you? And so maybe you go back to Shirley and go, Shirley, I noticed you rolled your eyes, while I was talking. And Shirley's like, yeah, I wear contacts and I've got a new one. I think it was in wrong side out. And that's why, my eyes were bothering me. But if you don't ask Shirley why she rolled her eyes, we jump from, I saw you roll your eyes, to you don't like me, and therefore I'm never going to interact well with you in the workplace again so quickly. And if you count the number of times that you do that in a day and the number of relationships impacted, it can really, change the way you see people.
It comes down to the power of communication. If you think something's wrong, you should just bring it up. But so many people are so uncomfortable to discuss something that they would go down the other route to just, not even have a, relationship with the individual. Also, you see that with the difference between the written word and the spoken word. I see so many people misinterpret, the written word and like, oh, you meant this. I didn't mean that. That's just how I typed it, So right. Do you find yourself coaching people on the difference between the written and the spoken word a lot of times?
Absolutely. Well, and again, it's that whole you assign meaning to something. You select something. Somebody sends you an email that's, Susie is a client who, and again, I'm making the name up here, but this is a leader who has been in her role for a year. She's doing awesome. She's got 17 different metrics that she's being measured on. And she comes to my office one day heartbroken because she's gotten an email from her boss about 2 measures where she's not up to the numbers she's supposed to be at. And she's heartbroken about this. And so, as a coach, the first thing you always do is sort of validate someone's feelings and help them address that. But then we really got to, I don't know her boss at all. And so I'm asking some questions to understand the bigger picture. And it turns out she regularly gets all kinds of positive verbal and written feedback about the 15 metrics that she's succeeding on. But she's chosen, again, to select and focus on. I got an email from my boss today about the 2 metrics that I'm not meeting the grade on. And literally when she left my office, she's like, I feel completely differently. I love you. Wow, thank you. But that's my job. It's just to coach people to see the whole picture instead of the piece you focus on.
Now, are there professional standards for the coaching industry? You'd mentioned you had achieved a certification, but do some people just get into the business and call themselves a coach and not really have any training behind it? Tell me a little bit about the business.
Absolutely. So there are lots of people out there who hang a shingle that says coach, and there's no regulations for calling yourself a coach. I'm actually a professional certified coach, so a PCC through the International Coach Federation. So that means that I went through a training program that was a very robust program. It was actually a 9-month face-to-face program, so we met 3 weekends. And like I said, I went back and taught for them. But there are lots of people out there who call themselves coaches who had 0 training. A really easy way to identify if you've got a coach who is certified versus non-certified is to look for, do they have, for the International Coach Federation, you could have an ACC, a PCC, or an MCC. Those are the 3 different levels. Mm-hmm. But when you're talking to a coach, one of the key ways that you're going to be able to identify, do I have somebody who's really a good coach versus someone who's calling themselves a coach? A lot of people who are not trained as coaches are going to immediately start giving you advice, and they think that that's coaching. Is I come to you like, I don't know what to do about my boss, and they say, here's what you should do first, second, and third, versus somebody who's really a certified coach that realizes this is a collaborative process where I connect you to your own brilliance. I don't have the answers. You have the answers. I'm going to help you find them.
So is that key in determining who the right coach is for you? What should somebody be looking for in finding that right coach? Because, it's hard to know somebody necessarily from an initial consultation, but you have to make that decision up front. How can somebody know that they're the right coach for them?
There are lots of ways that you can sort of research the coaches. Again, first, you want to look to make sure that they're certified. Secondly, you want to read the copy on their website to see, is this somebody who I connect with? If they've got, any articles they've written, read those articles. Most coaches are going to offer a free initial consultation where you can kind of get a feel for how you interact with them. But ultimately, what you're looking for is somebody who, when you get off the phone with them, you feel like you're smarter for having talked to them. But again, daily leadership coaching, the reason that I created that whole process is because you're not going to change anything if you just talk about it once a week.
Oh, good information. Kari Saddler, thank you so much for being in studio today. And she is the founder of Daily Leadership Coaching. You can give her a call, 813-215-4412, or visit karisaddler.coachesconsole.com. Again, karisaddler.coachesconsole.com. Coming back from the break, we'll be talking to Dr. Shirley Davis, and you're listening to the Working Women Wednesdays feature of That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.
Hi, I'm Kelly Ham from Bill Meyer Ham Consulting. Did you know that one of the biggest challenges that leaders face is getting their employees to be engaged, motivated, and producing amazing business results? At Bill Meyer Ham Consulting, we'll help you transform your workforce culture from one that might be underperforming, maybe mediocre, to achieving amazing business results. You see, we realize that your workforce culture is equally as important as your business plan and your business strategy. The two must be aligned in order for you to reach your desired business and financial goals.
Carol.
Hey, Jim.
I just got this this plan that could really help with our process here.
Okay, why don't you just have a seat and let's go over it.
Let us help you transform your workforce culture by leveraging your most important assets, your people. I want to know what's going on in your organization. Let us help you transform your workforce culture. Let's have a conversation.
Special 15% discount off your first year. Call or visit lifelock.com or use promo code 15radio. That's 15radio. Act now. Offer ends July 3rd. Call 1-800-LIFELOCK, 1-800-LIFELOCK, and use the promo code 15radio.
From the RP Funding Traffic Network.
Good morning. Crash on southbound McMullen Booth at Curlew. This one blocking a couple lanes and traffic slow from Tampa Road. Also one into clearing stages on eastbound Waters Avenue at Armenia. Northbound I-75 slow from around 301 up through the Brandon area. And westbound I-4 slow from I-75 over towards 50th Street. See traffic problems? Call the injury firm of Abrahamson and Eudora. Hillsborough Traffic Tip Line 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by Floor & Decor. For top quality floors at rock bottom prices, come to Floor & Decor. Opening June 23rd on North Dale Mabry. Over 1 million square feet of quality tile, wood, and stone flooring in stock. Floor & Decor. Opening June 23rd on North Dale Mabry Highway in Tampa.
1250 winds, weather center forecast. We'll see mostly sunny skies today. Another hot day, low 90s for the high. Small chance of those scattered showers, lower than we've seen all week, down to about 20%, near 80 for the low once again. See a gradual uptick in the chance of showers Thursday, 30%, 50% Friday. Still looking at cooler temps into the weekend, but rain and cloudy skies, mid-80s. Impact Radio 1250 winds, WHNZ.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Missed a show? Then head over to TampaBayRadio.com, where all shows are available on demand. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Maloney.
And welcome back to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. This segment brought to you by the people over at Vein 911, Dr. Chris Pittman. At Vein 911, we will help you feel great again. Do you have restless legs, night leg cramps, or ankle swelling? Restless legs, cramping, swelling, and tired, heavy legs are often symptoms of hidden vein disease. You do not have to have visible, bulging veins to have the symptoms of vein disease. The vein care specialists at Vein 911 are uniquely qualified to evaluate and treat your veins. Are you unhappy with your previous vein treatment? Vein 911 succeeds where others fail. Call Vein 911 today at 855-VEIN-911. That's 855-834-6911. Again, 855-834-6911 to book your free consultation. Vein 911 will help you feel great again. Currently, time to bring on my next guest for the program. I have Dr. Shirley Davis with me in studio today. Dr. Davis, welcome to the program today.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
And you have a background in radio, I just learned, so it's the first time you're on the other side of the microphone.
It feels great. Yeah, I used to have my own radio show called The Success Doctor with Dr. Shirley Davis.
Very cool. Where did you broadcast out of?
I broadcast in Washington, D.C. on Radio 1 for a year.
Wow. Now, what was some of the takeaways from radio, and why did you get out of the radio business then?
Well, my business took off, and I was traveling a lot more. I didn't have as much of the time to do it, but I actually just loved having new guests on. I loved learning new things about what was going on in the community, but I talked a lot about business and entrepreneurship and personal success.
Yeah, that's a little bit like what we do each and every morning here on the program, you know, focusing on positivity and the people that make a difference in our community. That's what That Business Show is all about, and great to be in studio with somebody else who shares that same mantra right there. So Dr. Davis, so now you're a speaker here. Tell me a little bit about your background in speaking.
Actually, I'm a consultant. I'm a global workforce expert, and speaking has just been a part of my career.
Okay.
I've been in human resources for over 30 years, started when I was 5 years old. And I actually have done a lot of training and development, and I speak on behalf of companies. I talk about global workforce trends. I work with leaders. I work with business and organizations on how to build strategies. And then I talk to a lot of working individuals and professionals on how to reinvent themselves. So it's a lot of speaking on different topics.
And you're going to be speaking at the upcoming Working Women Conference, September 8th and the 9th. What's going to be your topic of discussion, or is that still in the making?
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. As Jessica was mentioning earlier, I'm going to be speaking on how to reinvent yourself. And because the audience is going to be focused on women, I'm going to be talking to women about even some of my own personal journeys about how I've had to reinvent myself with this world changing as much as it has, and we're living in this era of disruption. I've gone through a number of career changes. I've gone through transitions, personal relationships, as well as even even financial transitions with the Great Recession. So I talk to women, I talk to individuals about how can you still get out in front of change and become a change agent versus allowing change to happen to you. And when it does, and it will, how do you reinvent yourself for success?
Now, the workforce, workplace, and worker has changed, so much, and is going to change so much more in the coming decade and stuff. And this is something that you consult business leaders on. What are some of the things that you're telling the business leaders? What are some of the things we should be looking out for? The millennial always seems to come into this discussion.
It does.
But let's talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, the workforce definitely is reinventing itself as well. I talk to global leaders working around the world in different organizations that not only are we going to have a greater number of multi-generational workforce workers coming in, baby boomers right now are the largest segment of the U.S. population, but millennials are going to be the largest in the next couple of years. So by 2025, it's going to be about 50% millennials. And by 2030, it's going to reach as high as 75%. Now, we've got 80 million baby boomers right now. They're going to be retiring in the next 3 to 5 years. And they really were supposed to retire about 7 to 10 years ago, but we all know they had to work a lot longer because of the recession.
Yeah. Now, with this influx of new workers coming into the workplace each and every year as millennials, are graduating and coming through school, and then, with the, so many jobs going overseas more and more, are we going to see the older workforce being forced out and to be replaced with the younger generation? Obviously, you can hire a millennial at a lower rate. They're inexperienced. Healthcare costs are going to be greatly reduced because they're younger versus the older workforce. Is the older workforce going to be suffering from, this type of attrition?
They're already starting to see some of that attrition as well. And even though the younger workers are much less experienced, they are certainly more educated. They're much more tech savvy. They're much more used to working in a global environment. They're much more used to working in a more diverse, multicultural environment. So they bring with them a lot of great assets to the workforce as well. But you're right, they are certainly going to be the largest segment of our population. And it's probably one of the most common calls that I get is, can you come in and help us to deal with a multi-generational workforce? So they're not necessarily forcing the baby boomers out. The baby boomers, some of them are happy to leave, but they'll come back as part-timers. They'll be consultants and contractors as well.
So for the older workforce, that coming back to the idea of reinventing themselves, what are some of the ways that the older generation can look to reinvent themselves in these days?
Yeah, and not only the older generation doing it, but a number of us younger people are too. But to reinvent yourself really is about, now I'm taking on a whole new transition in my life, whether it's a career transition of now going from full-time to part-time, or having worked 35 or 40 years and now want to do it as a part-timer, or even if it's just that my company is going through transition and I may face losing my job, I may still want to work. So when you have to face a lot of those, and we all do, is that's an opportunity to sort of brush off your resume, look at some of the skills that are transferable, recognize that there is some additional skills that you can start to learn or to develop. You can go back to school, take new classes, learn more about technology and how it's changing really fast. That's going to be something that's not going to change. It's going to continue to grow and advance in our workplace.
I had to reinvent myself in my mid-20s. I went to school when I was 18 and ended up dropping out 2 years into my degree, and worked in industry for 6 years and was just not enjoying my position, and decided to go back to school when I was 26 and, got my head on straight and got into real estate. But I had to do a complete 360. I was a college dropout. I had a 2.4 GPA the first time in college, and I was just really disappointed in myself. And I kept having a recurring dream, too, that I needed to go back to school. I kept having that dream to where I was in class and it was the final exam to get ready to graduate. And I did. I went back to school and got a degree in finance, ended up having a 4.0 GPA. So I was really proud of myself and got into real estate. And so I had to do a 360 when I was, 26, 27 years old. How did you mentioned you had to reinvent yourself. What are some of the challenges that you faced?
A number of them. Let's talk about real quickly career setbacks, right? So many of us have companies that are going through mergers and acquisitions. Well, I worked in the financial services for about 20 years. And through that process, I've gone through 6 mergers through, various banks who become, larger banks, and larger banks buy them out. Every time I either had a new job, new role and responsibility, or a new boss. And I had to reinvent myself. Sometimes that meant, this isn't going to work out for me. This isn't the kind of company or the kind of boss or the kind of culture that I really want to work in. So I had to brush off that resume and work my network and start to find new opportunities. Or I went back to school. I got 2 master's degrees. I went back to school to get a PhD. Nice. And there's another whole story behind why I had to also do that, not only because we were going through a lot of transition at work, but because as a woman and even as a person of color, I wasn't always given the opportunities. I wasn't always given equal access. And so I got degrees and I got certifications and I got mentors and I took all of these different courses so that I could become better than those who were telling me that I was not. Did you feel like
you had to go all the way up to the PhD to compete?
Well, then again, I'm like you. I'm an overachiever.
Yeah.
But I wanted to take away all the excuses that I kept hearing about you need more of this or you need more of that. And then I would train bosses that would then become my boss or my supervisor for a job that I knew I was qualified for. Mm-hmm. So I did it to take away some of the excuses.
Yeah, I felt also in the industry that I was in, I experienced like 5 or 6 major layoffs while I was working in phosphate industry, and that was a very cyclical industry. And, you know, I saw the first layoff 6 weeks into the business. I had just bought a brand new Jeep, and then I got laid off, and then I got back into the industry, and years later the final layoff came around, and that's when I went to the HR department and I said I want to go. My job wasn't even on the chopping block, and I said I'll take the severance package that you're offering, I'll take the tuition reimbursement because I was going back to school on their dime at that time, and I saved somebody else's job and I left. But you know, I was tired of the layoffs, I was tired of the transitions, and I wasn't getting, like you, I was having problems with advancement because I didn't have a college degree, and I said I had to go back out there and reinvent myself. So I definitely faced
so many people
paths.
are in that same position as well, and those are the kinds of people that I consistently coach and help them to tap into what are your strengths, what's your purpose. And I oftentimes find out that people don't even know what they're passionate about. They don't know what their real purpose is, and they go from job to job or from relationship to relationship and in life not really sure why.
Yep, that's very true. Ask people who are not happy in their lives or their work lives and say, well, what do you want to do? And they're like, well, I don't know.
Exactly.
You got to be able to answer
exactly
that
right.
basic question. So what keeps CEOs up at night, you know, given these trends when you're talking to these people?
Well, there's a number of things. You know, as we were talking about the changing workforce, not only has it become much more diverse and multicultural, multi-generational, but you also have more women. There's about 50% in the U.S. of women now in the workforce, and across the globe, it's 51%. Then you also have more people of color. So within the next 15 to 20 years, the workforce is going to become a majority of minorities. So you really can't call them minorities anymore other than where they're located in the workplace, which is usually not at the top. So with the workforce changing and becoming this kind of, with this diverse demographic, CEOs are really losing sleep at night relative to competition for talent, having the right kinds of skills to help them compete in the future. They're definitely dealing with how do I deal with these different generations, and there's going to be a 5th one that's entering into the workplace in the next 3 to 5 years. We call them Generation Z. The other thing that's keeping them up at night is this whole notion of employee engagement. So I go out and get great talent, but how do I keep them fully engaged and productive? And then also, how do I keep them from leaving my organization after I've invested in them?
So what strategies and practices are necessary to build more diverse, inclusive, and high-performing workplaces?
Well, certainly it starts with your workplace culture, and it starts with your leadership, right? We recognize that most people don't leave organizations or they don't leave their jobs. They leave bad bosses and they leave bad organizational cultures. So you have to focus in on building an inclusive workplace culture. You also have to look at your leadership development. So oftentimes companies that I work with have promoted leaders because they've been great at getting results, great at driving projects and programs, and then they put them in places to lead people, and they lead people as if they're managing projects, and that's not the same thing. So poor bosses, poor leadership. So we have to make sure that we invest in line leadership development, and then certainly focus on building an inclusive culture. And that comes from what kind of values you have in the organization. How do you deal with the diversity of talent that you have in the organization? Do you include different ideas and different perspectives? Do you celebrate and reward diversity of thought?
Good information. Currently talking to Dr. Shirley Davis, and you can learn more about her, drshirleydavis.com. You're listening to the Working Women Wednesdays feature, That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. If you've been following That Business Show on Facebook and Twitter, you may have noticed the quality of some of our images. That's because one of our sponsors is pro photographer Rick Taseda, a member of the Professional Photographers of America. You can view his extensive work by going to his website at ricktaseda.com or call him for an appointment to chat about your photography needs at 813-641-4757. That's 813-641-4757. Rick Taseda Visuals. Call him for your next event or project.
Savvy business owners utilize technology to connect with customers, communicate among teams, and collaborate with partners. Even with advances in technology, you all know it's not infallible. Where do you turn when your technology starts working against you? Who do you depend on to keep your team productive? Don't wait until your technology fails you. Get ahead of the crisis and contact the professionals at Alpha Computing Solutions so they can show you how to keep your technology running smoothly. Visit them online at www.alphacomputing.com.
Attention medical professionals. Have you heard that Tampa Bay will become the first certified wellness district in the country? Thanks to Jeff Fennick's revitalization of Channelside, the Dr. Whisperer wants to streamline your efforts in preparation. So when you're ready to ignite your practice, use the Dr. Whisperer's public relations expertise to spread the word. Use the Dr. Whisperer to motivate your staff. And use the Dr. Whisperer to recruit and secure leaders within your practice. Call the Dr. Whisperer today at 727-420-2481 or visit thedrwhisperer.com where they write your prescription for success.
Who doesn't have a smartphone these days? And of course, there's an app for everything. Well, almost everything. That's why the folks at Popcorn Apps started developing mobile applications. They saw people like you with genius ideas, unable to make those thoughts a reality. They develop applications for tens of thousands of dollars less than you'll find anywhere else, and will turn your idea into a reality in a matter of just a few months. Think you're not ready? Think again. They are your one-stop shop for mobile application development. See them at popcornapps.com with a K in popcorn, or call them at 727-415-6705 for your free consultation and pop your kernel of an idea into $1 million business and a world changer starting today. What's up, business rock stars? Are you ready to bring out the CEO in you? Join Julianne Nichols, CEO of Focus on You Strategy, every other Friday on That Business Show. She'll be talking with other chief entrepreneurial officers about how they grew their businesses. Remember, you could join the conversation at Focus on You Strategies Focus Fridays Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Focus Fridays. That's facebook.com/groups/Focus Fridays. Be the CEO of you. Did you know the biggest challenge business leaders face today is creating an engaged and productive workforce culture? Bill Meyer Ham Consulting wants to help you solve this challenge. They will help you transform your workforce culture to produce amazing business results. Call Bill Meyer Ham Consulting at 941-201-4650 today or visit BillMeyerHam.com. That's BillMeyerHam.com. Have a conversation.
I knew Mom wanted to stay at home. It's the center of her family, her life. But helping Mom stay in her home while managing mine was just too much. Honestly, it wasn't just about me. Mom didn't want me to be her caretaker. She wanted me to be her daughter. I felt so alone until I found out about Home Instead Senior Care. When we met the people at Home Instead, we just knew they were different. The experience was personal. And most importantly, for Mom and me, I get to be her daughter again.
Home Instead Senior Care. To us, it's personal.
From the Bright House Networks Traffic Center.
Good morning. A couple of accidents in the Palm Harbor area. One along southbound US 19 south of Tampa Road. Left lane blocked here. Also southbound McMullen Booth at Curlew. This accident pretty much right in the middle of the intersection, but again, we're seeing big delays on southbound McMullen Booth from before Tampa Road and also east and westbound on Curlew. See traffic problems? Call the injury firm of Abrahamson and Eudora. Hillsborough Traffic Tip Line 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by Unbound. There's a girl in El Salvador who dreams of becoming an engineer. There's an elder in Uganda who dreams of having a community to call his own. No two dreams are the same. Help one person achieve theirs at unbound.org.
Today, hot and humid with a 20% chance of showers, high 91. Tonight, partly cloudy, humidity continues, low 79. Tomorrow, a 30% rain chance, high 89.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Missed a show? Then head over to TampaBayRadio.com, where all shows are available on demand. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Maloney.
And we're back to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Also, it's the Working Woman Wednesdays feature, so learn more about the amazing organization for professional women over at WorkingWomenOfTampaBay.com. And as mentioned in the first segment, their conference coming up September 8th and 9th at the Straz Center. Tickets are available. Head over to WorkingWomenConference.com to pick up tickets and see about the speakers, one of which who is my guest here in studio today, Dr. Shirley Davis, president of SDS Global. and you can learn more about her throughout the discussion. drshirleydavis.com. And Dr. Shirley, there we're talking about strategies and techniques that workforces or leaders need to implement, to deal with the ever-changing workplace culture and stuff. What are some of the other things that leaders need to be aware of?
Yeah, so we were talking about how important it is to invest in line leadership development and to ensure that you're not only welcoming diverse talent, but that you build a culture of inclusion where people have equal access to opportunities and they can bring their full selves to work and contribute equally. We also talked about how important it is to focus on employee engagement. Employee engagement actually is pretty low. I don't know, most people don't understand this, but only about 32% of workers around the country report that they are actively engaged in their workplace. So we have to really, as organizations, start to focus more on how do we build those kinds of workplace cultures that bring out the best in each of us, that tap into our greatest potential, into our talent, and that as leaders, we've got to envision and invoke great followers, and we've got to have visions as well that people want to follow.
Now, how do your services work? I mean, you come in and you talk about workplace culture, inclusion, and getting people involved. But so how do you come into an organization and work? How does this work?
Very broadly, right? Because we recognize that we have to help them understand how the global workforce has changed. So SDS Global Enterprises we've got a team of great experts and consultants who've been doing this work. We work with organizations to first assess their culture, help them understand, one, where their leaders are. So we do leadership assessments. We help them understand about their culture. So we do audits, we do assessments, we do stakeholder interviews, we do all kinds of surveys with the employees as well as with their key stakeholders. And then we come together with recommendations, whether it's coaching, whether it's training and education, skill building, whether it's helping to build a more inclusive strategy, or how do we focus on retention and employee engagement. So we do the full gamut of workforce management.
So how did you come to put together this leadership team? And, tell me about the founding of this and the inspiration. I mean, you talked about, having to reinvent yourself and go through these workplace changes yourself, and you brought yourself all the way up to the PhD level. But, was there an event that inspired you to do this, or did you just see this opportunity in the culture?
Yeah, Jamie, this was absolutely an opportunity where I reinvented myself. So I was living what I teach and talk about all the time. I've worked in corporate America for nearly 27 years, and I decided a few years back that I wanted to launch my own global consulting business. And I had been in the business long enough to know who were some of the great key players. I tapped my own team. I didn't have a cattle call or do a recruiting call. I actually went to people who I know had credibility, integrity, vision, who had strategy development skills, who were great leaders and coaches, and I brought them onto my team. And we've been doing now, I've got about 12 people that I call my Clydesdales. They're top of the line, creme de la creme, and they work with all size organizations around the world, helping to bring, as I say, transformation to organizations and empowerment to individuals.
Now, we're talking with Kari Saddler that last segment, and she coaches leaders, and you're doing the same thing here. And I asked her the same thing. It's like you're dealing with dominant personalities, and when you make a suggestion, and you deal with the pushback. Oh, I've done that, or that doesn't work. How do you overcome those objections? As a consultant.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why it helps to do some upfront assessments and do leadership engagement surveys, because we get an opportunity to see in general, how do you feel about your direct supervisor? How do you feel about the leadership team? How is communication really happening? How are your relationships going with your bosses? And so I'm able to go back with actual data to say, you know what, this isn't happening. And at a large scale, this is what we've got to work on. And individually, I can do assessments on leaders and see where they have opportunities and gaps for development and for excellence. And that's where we start.
So what are some of the other things that are keeping CEOs up at night, given these trends in workplace culture, more multi-generational, more multicultural, workplaces? And what are some of the other things that CEOs need to be aware of in the workplace?
And when I talk about what's keeping them up at night, there's a lot of things, that obviously keeping them up at night, but I talk about it in the context of workforce. And the other things that's really driving a lot of their insomnia is the fact that you got to build a much more flexible workplace and allow flexibility in the workplace, as well as making sure that your great talent doesn't get taken by the competition, because there's a lot of executive search firms and organizations that prefer to have passive workers. Passive workers are those who are already engaged in your workplace. They already have a job, and they want to go after that kind of talent to get them to come to work for them. And then the other thing is their employer brands, keeping them up at night, because people want to work for companies that are great places to work.
How should leaders know that they have deficiencies in workplace culture and know that they would need the services of professionals such as yourself? Because to the leader, everything's always rosy and peachy and everything. But when should what some of the warning signs that a leader should be looking for?
There's some real early warning signs. Some telltale signs is that when you don't have people who are fully engaged at work, they are complaining a lot. They start to file complaints. HR complaints continue to go up and to rise. Or you start to look on internets. You look at tweets. You look at social media, because there's a lot of people that will talk about the organization, what it's like to work there, or how toxic it might be. Or when you walk up and down the hallways and you see people really not working, they're watching Netflix videos or playing Angry Birds because they're angry at work. There's some telltale signs.
It's always difficult to keep the staff off the internet, though. I mean, there's no easy way to kind of make that go away, because everybody needs the internet. And
and I'm not saying ban it, but you certainly have to create a culture where people don't mind working hard and doing above and beyond the work.
Understood. Working Women of Tampa Bay here, you're a member of. Real quick, we're running up to the end of the segment, though, but tell me how it's benefited you and your organization.
Yeah, I'm new to the Tampa Bay area, moved here from Washington, D.C. about 6 months ago, and I've become very integrated, and I'm getting acclimated to the Tampa Bay area. And Jessica's introduced me to Working Women, and I'm really excited because it's an opportunity to network with other women of business, to be able to learn new strategies and new ways of actually working in Tampa. So I'm excited about that and looking forward to the opportunity to speak in September.
All right. Looking forward to it as well. It's September 8th and 9th at the Strass Center. She'll be one of the speakers at the Working Women Conference. So Dr. Shirley Davis, thank you so much for being in the studio.
It's been a pleasure, Damie.
Great job. President of the SDS Global brand. Learn more about her and her services over at drshirleydavis.com. That's drshirleydavis.com. Or give her a call, 410-917-4421. Again, 410-917-4421. Also, thank you to my guest, Kari Saddler, who was on in the last segment, founder of Daily Leadership Coaching. You can learn more about her services over at karisaddler.coachesconsole.com. And as always, thank you to Jessica Ravelli for helping out each and every Working Women Wednesdays, and learn more about the organization over at workingwomenoftampabay.com. Also, keep in mind the show starts at 7 a.m. now each and every morning. In the 7 o'clock hour, we had Debbie Lundberg, author, speaker, and coach of the Presenting Powerfully brand, and learn more about her, DebbieLundberg.com. And she was in studio helping out as a chaperone to Morgan Boykin, our 2016 Miss Tampa, representing the Miss America pageant. So we wish her the best of luck coming up in the Miss Florida pageant being held over in Lakeland on June 28th. And also thank you to our newest expert contributor, Christy Campbell, owner of Homestead Senior Care. Learn more about their services, homestead.com/482. You've been listening to That Business Show. Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.